Hey everyone, welcome to Sunrise Extra on a Friday. We're doing two-topic Friday because we just could not decide on what to talk about today.
There's so much to talk about.
There is so much to talk about. So you guys may have seen this headline. I certainly saw it a couple days ago, starting on social media, on Twitter, about our gal pal Oprah.
Gal pal.
I used to watch Oprah all the time.
Like this.
Oh my gosh. Yes, we are very good friends.
Oprah Winfrey?
Oprah Winfrey, the one and only. So she's facing a bunch of backlash right now, and I think you can take this computer maybe behind me to kind of show the headline. Oh, sorry, that's the other one. We'll play this in just a second. So Oprah is doing a show on Apple TV Plus. It's called The Oprah Conversation. She interviews, newsmakers and other interesting people. She is she's like one of the best interviewers out there, I think.
I was going to say.
So she had a former NFL player and activist, Emmanuel Acho, and they were all talking about kind of this, this national issue of racism and white privilege. And so in this episode, she kind of challenged white people to talk about their privilege, that white people have as we grow up. So she said that, let's play this video because it actually says it much better than I can stumble through. So let's listen.
And then I'll let you answer it. White people, there are white people who are not as powerful as the system of white people, the caste system that's been put in place, but they still, no matter where they are on the rung or the ladder of success, they still have their whiteness.
So people are upset about this, saying, okay, well, you're a billionaire, Oprah. How can you criticize white privilege when you're so, financially privileged and all this? So what do you guys think about this? There's people weighing in on both sides of saying, a lot of us know kind of Oprah's history. She had a really tough childhood. She was sexually abused. Right. She really did work for, I think, everything that she's gotten. She was a news reporter, and then she got her own talk show. And she's worked really hard and done so many good causes. It just seems kind of unfair, I think, the backlash. But
well, I mean, she did. Growing up in Mississippi, she had the ultimate black experience of racism and poverty. So just because she is now a billionaire does not take away that life experience.
Yes.
And systemic racism and individual success are not mutually exclusive. Both things can be true.
Yeah, she has the experience, right? It may not be present day. She has a full life's worth of experience to pull from, that she can make those comments. And quite frankly, when I hear this, I think, well, she's entitled to say whatever she wants or feels to begin with. I mean, right? If you don't like what she has to say, then I would imagine you wouldn't go and watch that show. But we do have viewers. I just feel like in some ways, guys, we are re-stirring the pot. That doesn't need to be stirred up from the beginning. We've been stirring it enough. We've been talking about this issue enough to where I feel like in some ways we go backwards with comments like I see on the stream about, where was it? I just lost it because the comments are flying in now. Not all white people have privilege. I think that's what we've been discussing now for weeks, that in some ways, yes,
and that's what was brought up on her show. And that's, they did discuss that. And, a lot of, no one is the same, no one is the same. The color of your skin doesn't make you the same as another person the same color as your skin. I mean, and so they were talking about that. And then she said, but even though you still do grow up with a certain privilege and opportunity, whether you take it or leave it.
Yeah, I don't even know if it's opportunity. I think, and please, I know everybody will correct me if I'm wrong, as I understand it, white privilege goes back to basically what the United States was based on. So it was a system that was made by white people at the time for white people, and that legacy is what we kind of have evolved into, based on discrimination of some and not of others. It does not mean that every white person today has a leg up for some reason, or is destined to be successful just because of the color of their skin. That's ridiculous. There are many, many poor whites, and I always have said, my God, poor whites, poor blacks, they have a whole lot in common, and maybe they should realize that, because they would be a force to be reckoned with, because those economic concerns are also paramount to people being able to live a decent life here in the United States.
And I wonder if our director Mark could be able to take this touch screen behind me, because I want to show you some reaction, if I can kind of blow this up. So this is a candidate for, where is she from? From Maryland, House candidate, and she says Oprah Winfrey trying to profit off a manufactured racial divide while being a billionaire when so many people are facing eviction is the sort of nonsense cancel culture should attack. There's another good one I saw here. This guy is a podcaster, and he called Oprah a fraud. Said the billionaire made a billionaire by her own overwhelmingly white audience. What a fraud. What do you guys think about this?
I think that she has a responsibility to use her platform now, coming from where she was. And not everybody has the luxury of having a platform, right? I mean, I feel like I have a platform in some ways. I call my privilege the golden TV privilege. I lived down south when I was 23. I went to LSU, got my master's degree, started working for a CBS affiliate down there, and I saw racial segregation. It was self-segregation. The black people wanted to hang out together and the white people wanted to hang out together. At LSU, I think I saw one interracial couple the entire time I was there. But the bigger picture is back to the golden TV privilege, is that people do treat you differently. You know, I don't think that I had the full force or brunt of anything, because a lot of people back then, this was like 1986, it was like, oh, you're on TV. And so somehow I got a little bit of a pass, but not everybody has that. But I do feel like, because I am on TV and I've had the privilege of, you know, being able to bring people the news for 31 years this month, that I should use that to at least expand the conversation. You don't have to agree with me, but I do have a perspective and I'm willing to listen, and I think we need to talk. We need to be able to not be so defensive and to hear different perspectives from the billionaire, from the people with nothing, from everything in between. But Oprah has a platform, and she absolutely should use that for things that she believes in.
Yeah, you know, I'm watching this morning and thinking about, you know, when I see the comments about not all white people have a privilege, or not all white people are privileged. I mean, like we talked about already, everyone comes from a different background. Growing up, you know, I don't want to get too deep into my own personal story, but we were poor. I remember as a 12-year-old, I knew exactly what my mom made a month. I knew exactly what our mortgage was a month, and I knew at 12 years old, in sixth grade, geez, those two things don't add up very well. I mean, we were poor, but I never, and I thought about this a lot in the last few weeks, I was never afraid of being pulled over by a cop and being harmed in any way, shape, or form. The only thing I feared as a white 16-year-old, 17-year-old, 18-year-old growing up was getting the ticket. I never once feared that my life was in danger if I got pulled over by a police officer. And we were living in a neighborhood that was not by any means rich. And I'm sure there were black people that lived near us who had those fears that I never thought of, considered, or worried about. So I do know that it's not about the money in your bank account when we're talking about the privilege, right? And you can't throw a blank on too many statements, but Brenda, you mentioned earlier what our country was founded on. You can say an absolute statement. Our country was absolutely founded by and formed by white people. There wasn't a black person in the mix when it came to forming what our country would look like back in the 1600s and 1700s. And so it really was a country based on white thought, white thinking, and what was going to be best for those white people.
Terry Knotts agreeing with you, Drew.
That's how it was back then. Yep.
Yeah, she says it's not economic class. White people have not suffered in society and in the legal system like people of color have had, money or no money. Let's see. Andrea says Oprah used her money to gain fame and wine and dine with the other rich and dirty people. Let's see.
Oh my.
But she has done, I mean, she's opened schools in Africa, you know, just for girls to get an education. I mean, she's done so many films and supported so many, you know, social justice movements for the black community. So I just think it's unfair. I mean, just because like she worked her tail off, you know, constantly working and constantly doing specials and having those really tough conversations on her show. And yes, lots of white women, you know, watched her show. And but you know, if she wasn't good at what she did and she wasn't such a powerful human connector, she would have not risen through the ranks like she did, you know?
Yeah. Christine Lewis on the stream says, let's talk about how black people were banned from Oregon. So Drew, I know you were in on this recent Zoom call that we had with a historian, a black historian, and KGW made her available to us just to kind of talk about the history of our state. And, you know, she said some things that I had never ever heard before. I was fascinated by her look back at where Oregon came from. Not the least of which was, I don't know, it must have been the Oregonian if it was like an old-timey news article. They had a picture, I believe, of the governor and like the attorney general, some high muckety-mucks back then, standing in a line with two fully robed Klansmen. Big white hoods, and you just kind of looked at, and one of our governors, Governor Pierce, was a card-carrying member of the KKK.
Wow.
So, yeah, let's talk about Oregon's racist history.
I didn't know, Brenda, when I wish I had that slide to pull, because I want to get this factually correct as we repeat that lesson that we had on Wednesday. But when Oregon was, when Oregon formed a statehood, black people that lived here were told, slavery is wrong, slavery cannot happen here, but you also can't live here. And they were told you have X amount of time to get out of here. And if you don't leave the state, you will be publicly whipped twice a year for as long as you stay here. So again, get out now. Can't be a slave, don't worry about that, but you can't live here either. I mean, that's when the state was formed, and that's how the state was formed.
I think that was called an exclusion law. I believe that's what she said.
Right.
And there were things in our Constitution that weren't removed until like the early 2000s.
Yeah, 2002.
And a lot of people said, you know what, that's part of our history. We don't want to take that language out, even though the language was discriminatory and racist. So yeah, there is a lot to unpack about where we came from and how it affects, subtly or not so subtly, life today. I think that's the bigger conversation.
Sometimes I also think, and I don't know if you ever think about this, we talk about 1859, the beginnings of Oregon as a state, and wow, that's a long time ago. Geez, that is ancient history. That's like right up there with the dinosaurs, right? But it's really, when I think about it, it's 2 lifetimes ago. It's 160 years. I mean, a lifetime is roughly 80 years, right? So it is really, when you think about it, not that long ago. So in some ways, we have come a long way from those days. You can't imagine a law being written today like it was written back then. But we're also not too far removed from those times.
Okay, 7:17. I said it was Two-Topic Tuesday.
Oh, yeah.
Somebody else is getting mad at me for brushing my hair off my face. You guys, this is a live streaming show. It's unscripted.
Right.
We're not on camera. We're
I don't
not
like
on
it when your
TV.
hair's in your face.
Can I
Please
move
remove
my
it.
hair off my face? Is it okay?
That's what
We're
you
also
wanna talk
reading
about?
your comments live on our phones. I'm not scrolling through my photos like someone said. And people jump to my defense. Thank you, because they know what the show is about. We love
Can't
to
you do it like Brenda?
interact
Solidarity.
with
Put your
live.
hair in a
Thank
place
you.
where it's not going to fall on your face.
There you go.
Can't you do it like Brenda?
Whatever. Okay, second topic. A lot lighter, you guys, than Oprah. We're talking about Halloween because I saw an LA Times article earlier this week talking about what the heck do you do about Halloween during a coronavirus pandemic. You're touching things, you're giving candy to strangers, you're trying to go through a...
Oh, no, you're not.
Yeah, exactly. No, you're not. And I just got so sad because my daughter finally, last year was her first Halloween where she kind of walked around and started to get the concept of these people are giving me treats.
Yeah.
And that's awesome.
You wear this, you get candy. It's that
Exactly.
simple.
I know. So, but even if you don't have kids, and I know a lot of our morning viewers don't, like if you like to go to the pumpkin patch or you like to go to a corn maze or with your grandkids or something like that, what is it going to look like?
I feel like you could still go to the pumpkin patch socially distanced.
Yeah.
Right?
I guess so. It's outside. You're wearing masks.
And I feel like the people with little kids have it super easy. They don't know what day October 31st is.
Yeah.
Girl, that's about you and your traditions. Poor little P.
Well, where do
she
they
won't
get the
know.
candy?
She won't know.
Come in.
If you ignore the whole thing as a 2-year-old, they
I
won't
guess
know.
maybe just dress her up in the house a couple days in the costume and then
Pick it up next year.
You could do like a thing within the house, I guess.
Yeah, you
just have
could.
to get creative, you know, like maybe you have a different family member in a certain room and she knocks on the door and you open it and give her a piece of candy.
You know, at 12 years of age, our kids are well aware of the fact that all that candy they get on Halloween doesn't really ever reach the bottom of their belly. They get some that night, then we throw it in like, you know, the special Halloween bags that go in the closet, and literally...
They forget about it?
They do.
No.
They do. Yes, they do.
Oh, man.
Not immediately, and you tell them, hey, you can't hit that too often, but eventually they just, I don't know if it's laziness or what it is that keeps them from going to the back of that closet or the back of the pantry, but that candy just suddenly is out of mind, and then we...
Good for them.
I don't get rid of it.
good for them.
I usually bring it into the work, and surprisingly...
We appreciate that.
Do you? A month
As
later,
a mom,
when
I
that-
never
when
forgot
that
about the
shows up?
candy. I would raid the kids'
Oh,
candy
me
every
too.
now and again.
I eat more than they do, no doubt about it. It's slow and steady over about a month period. I eat more than they do, and then I bring what's left after that month back here to the station, and it gets devoured in about 2 hours, 3 hours.
So some of the candy makers are saying that they're going to make less like Halloween themed or branded, you know, candy bags and stuff, so they can sell it, you know, throughout the year. They won't get leftover product kind of at the stores. So you've got that aspect. But I wonder, there's so many great, you know, I mean, Drew, gosh, you've done so many live shots at haunted houses. And I mean, we've got the one, you know, at the Coliseum that they've had, or
haunted
different
houses,
things like that, where
that's not going to work.
It's going to be,
No, that's out. Pumpkin
Unless
patches.
you have a timed ticket and there's no live actors, but maybe like
It's indoors
sounds or-
though. I mean, anything that's happening, I feel like indoors is...
But if you have a timed ticket with a mask?
I feel like those people spend so much on the rent for those places. You know, normally they don't own the spaces that they take over for a month.
Sure.
So whatever the cost is to rent that space, they're not going to be able to bring in enough people at a time. They count on packing those places in on Friday and Saturday night. And when those people aren't shoulder to shoulder, they're not making enough money to get by, to make the ends meet, so to speak. So I just don't think it's going to pencil out for them to do that. A pumpkin patch could still work. I think of French Prairie Gardens.
You've done the mazes. How would the mazes work, you think?
What you laughing at, Brenda?
I'm sorry, I just looked down and Stanford Walker, one of our regulars, says
Say no more. I
Halloween
laugh when I see his name,
2020,
too.
AKA COVID candy.
Oh, COVID candy.
Sorry, go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Candy like that. Okay, mazes. What do you
remember
think?
the scare? Do you guys? You may not remember this, Nina, but like 1983 or 4, that scare that Halloween, Brenda, of the razor blades in the candy.
Yes.
Yeah.
I do remember.
Well, I mean, I grew up back in the day when, I mean, I don't know. I remember hearing that from my parents. It was always like, it kind of put the fear of God in you. Like, don't you open any of that candy. There could be like, you know, some razor blades, or they could take a hypodermic needle and do. I was like, wow.
My mom used to say, if it says Snickers, it's fine. But if it's wrapped in just clear plastic with no name, you throw that candy out.
What? Because she just wanted the Snickers for herself or something.
No, but literally sometimes, like way back in the day, people would make homemade stuff.
Yeah.
And that was the other thing. It's like nobody gives away homemade stuff anymore. But there was a time when people would make popcorn balls, or they'd give out other little treats that were, you know, not store-bought.
Yeah.
Thank you for keeping me safe and putting these 5 pennies in a bag for me this Halloween. Where's the house with the Snickers?
Needed the raisins.
But I was just going to mention real quickly, French Prairie Gardens, pretty popular spot down there near St. Paul. They do a great pumpkin patch every year. I'm just, as a point of reference, they also do like a strawberry festival, and they still had a festival of sorts this year. It wasn't the big to-do with like rides for the kids and things of that nature, but they still had people coming out and picking berries. They still had people, they have an outdoor eating area where you could come and get food and have some beer, all outdoors. So they still could probably pull off some sort of pumpkin patch, just not with all the bells and whistles that put people shoulder to shoulder waiting in a line for something.
Right.
You know, we're doing the best that we can, people.
I don't know why Halloween's like making me so bummed out.
Well,
It's 'cause I got a
figured this
little-
out a few months ago, actually, Nina. I don't know what my wife and I were talking about. I was like, there's not going to be a Halloween this year. Like, that's out. And it upset me only because it's finally on a Saturday this year.
Yes.
Which I long for.
And it's a full moon. Yeah. Not
But there will be another Halloween with full moon. Means it's going to be
Yes,
okay.
but
It
she
is.
was so cute.
I'll let you trick or treat in the studio. How about that?
Okay.
Have you ever thought
Come
about
over
this?
here and I'll put it 6 feet away, a little candy for you.
I'll come and get it.
You know how we say things like, oh, you know, next year when this event comes back, everything will be great. But what I mean, sometimes I think, really? Is that a guarantee?
Drew,
What?
This was supposed to be a kind of a fun, light,
No.
whatever.
I'm bummed.
Sorry.
I'm bummed.
Sorry.
It's going to be okay. It's all going to be okay.
It's going to be fine, but I just don't know if it's going to be COVID-free.
Well, you know what? It's going to be okay if it's not COVID-free.
Okay.
The world will go on.
It's going to be okay, but there's not going to be trick-or-treating.
I think I got to get like 2 or 3 costumes. We got to stretch this over a couple weekends, just have her dress. You're right. She won't know the difference.
She won't know the difference, and if you don't go home with a bad attitude, your girl will be happy as a clam.
Okay.
All right?
Hey, when are we going to hang out in a studio together again? Come on. It's going to be okay.
That's not
Brenda's
our
not the
agenda
same.
little
today.
candies on the desk, though, so you can't come in here. All right, you guys. Thank you for joining.
Somehow we got way off the rails, didn't we?
All I know is Brenda's bringing me some candy. Okay, have a good Friday. Stay happy and healthy. We'll see you on Monday.